Hey everyone, I hope that you are doing well. I just wanted to check in as we're finishing up with Module 5 and moving on to Module 6 in our Mexican Revolution course. As I've mentioned on and off throughout our time together, remember that our class is short. This is a summer course, it's only 4 weeks long. We have about a week and a half left together. So do remember that the last day of class is July 28th, that's a Wednesday. The final project on the underdogs is due by the end of that day, along with any other work that you're still putting together and working on for our course. If you have any concerns or questions, or if you need any help with anything, please reach out as soon as possible. That's what I'm here for. I'm happy to help. And more than anything, I've really enjoyed the conversations that we've been having on Twitter, on the discussion board, and on Medium about different aspects of the Mexican Revolution. And I do want to address just a couple of things that were comments that I pointed out as I read through your blog posts on Medium today. Also, please check out my post that I wrote and added to our Medium page this afternoon. It kind of takes a different angle on the constitutionalist, conventionist split that we were discussing. I don't go to the end of the revolution and talk about Obregón, but instead talk about the life of a young boy named Jesus Paez who was wounded. He lost one of his legs during the Columbus attack. And so his story, which is not too well known, as far as I can tell, is there in that post, and it's part of the original research that I did for my dissertation and that I'm working on for the book that I'm working to publish. So I'd love to hear your feedback, your thoughts, and ideas on that. And I hope it adds something to our understanding of the revolution and of what was going on at Columbus. Let's see, thinking about Obregón, I should lead with my dissertation advisor, Linda Hall, wrote about Obregón for her dissertation, her first book. She actually interviewed members of his family and got really close to the topic of Obregón. She had spent some time in Colombia during a lot of its revolutionary turmoil when the rise of the FARC was taking place in the 60s and 70s, and so she saw the Mexican Revolution as sort of a counterpoint in terms of different revolutionary activities that had taken place in Latin America. She was part of the post-revisionist school that started writing in the late 70s and throughout the 80s that sought to kind of swing the pendulum back toward the idea and looking at the idea that the revolution wasn't just a continuation. As the revisionists had said, it wasn't just something that caused a lot of loss of life and a change of elites, but not real change for most Mexicans. But instead, it was something that did change life for many Mexican people, and it changed the trajectory of where the state was heading. It also changed the relationship between campesinos and laborers and the Mexican state. And I think those things are certain. And those did start with Obregón, who was pragmatic, who wasn't really for land reform, but who also recognized the need to address the necessities and the demands of the Mexican people who had just been involved in a decades-long revolution. You know, of course, the people in Mexico were very tired of revolution by 1920, and so that played a factor in folks' willingness probably to come to the table in certain ways. But we also see, you know, De la Huerta was willing to take up arms against Obregón. We had many other challengers who fled to the United States and then challenged Obregón, and then Calles in the 20s. We had the Cristeros. And so things didn't just settle down. It took an adept and very pragmatic, I'll say that word again, approach to putting the state back together in a way that would, if not solve everyone's problems, at least address them in some way, give them room to do something about them. So again, his land reform, his deals and secret dealings with CROM, with the Mexican labor movement, that several of you pointed out in your posts went a long way to that end. They also set up a corporatist system. That's much what the Mexican government became, as I pointed out in some places, and I think we'll get to by Module 7. Mario Vargas Llosa called Mexico's government the perfect dictatorship, because it was one-party rule. It was like a dictatorship, sort of hidden behind the trappings of a democratic system in a lot of ways. And the foundations for that kind of a system were put in place by Obregón and in particular by Calles, by his successor. But the Sonorans who essentially won the revolution were the ones who laid the foundations for 20th century Mexican politics. Now, of course, and we'll see this in Module 6, and as we kind of make a final assessment of the revolution and its staying power this week in Module 7, we'll think about the contributions of Calles. We'll think about the ways that his successors took the revolution on a much more conservative path. And, again, where does it cease to be the revolution? That's a good question to keep in mind as we study Benjamin's book, La Revolución. He's thinking about the revolution as myth and symbol, something that is leveraged by people of different political, socioeconomic persuasions in Mexico as a rallying point, as a point of nationalistic pride. And so he's looking at the ways that memory is constructed and what we know about the revolution has come to be, how it came to be the revolution with a capital letter. And so I'm looking forward to those conversations. Hopefully that wasn't too rambling. Please read through the comments also on Medium, respond. I'm always happy as our conversations continue in the various forums that we're working on. I think that's where our learning really takes place, as we talk to each other about what we're reading and what we're learning and how we're thinking about the revolution as its significance. So press on, and please let me know whenever you have any questions or could use any help.